Hey there again, internet. I decided we're just gonna start this whole motherfucker over. That's what I decided. Oh, sweet Jesus, that game was not entertaining. For anybody watching this later, I was trying to play Kentucky Route Zero for about an hour and some change, and it was just boring everybody to tears. So you know what? I decided to abandon that and go do some fortune cat hunting in Goemon. So that is now the plan. And we're gonna talk about research ethics like I planned to. I will briefly summarize what little we did manage to talk about before we switch to gears here. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't know what that game was really about, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it. That's why I kind of had like a non-committal sort of attitude toward it. But you know, I'm happy I tried it. Now I know. I might enjoy it more playing it by myself, but I really do not see me streaming something like that. Now that I don't mind doing like a bunch of like reading and voice acting and shit, like I said, Planescape was like that, but it's just Planescape was also like consistently interesting story stuff, so it needed to get out of Midgar, man, like I was saying. And it simply did not. It simply did not. So I'm gonna still be up for a little bit. Hopefully I didn't lose absolutely everybody. I think Urchak maybe had to go. Which sucks, because I actually specifically wanted to talk to him about some shit. But it'll be fine. I was gonna talk about Kant. Urchak was gonna be so impressed with my philosophy skills. Yeah, philosophy's something else, man. I gotta wait for this to loop back around. I'm taking a philosophy class this semester. I think I mentioned that. It's about moral repair, which is you know, what it sounds like basically. When there is moral wrong of some kind. The process of fixing that. So we've been talking about things like apologies and blame and guilt and stuff like that. And yeah, I'd been thinking about research ethics for other reasons recently, so wanted to bullshit about that a little bit. That's the plan. Hello, Alex. I'm glad you're still with me. Alright. Guy. Let me know how the sound is. It looks okay, but... I'm blocked? Is it still happening? Huh. Oh, Urchak, you're still here. Good. I wanted to talk about cunt. It sounds a lot like cunt, but it's not, it's cunt. Is the audio good for y'all? Take a chance. Y'all aren't bitching about the audio, so I'm gonna assume it's alright. I'll turn it up a little bit, because it seemed kind of quiet. I want you to be able to hear me, obviously, so. Yeah, Emmanuel Kant. Second cousin of Emmanuel Blast. Oh, first cousin, I'm sorry. I get my Kants mixed up. Or my Emmanuels mixed up. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, audio looks good. Again, if I don't hear complaints, I assume it's fine. Y'all told me last time when it was way the fuck too loud, so... Okay. Yeah, totally, that's definitely how names work. Surnames, first names. It's all the same. If you have the same name, it means you're related. It doesn't matter where the name is. It's all... Alright, I'm gonna listen to the pretty Festival Village music while I look at a list of fortune cats and see what we still need. I've gotten a lot of these. Let's see. I need to charge this motherfucker. Okay. Sorry, hold on. Tell you what, I made the recent mistake of purchasing a jewel. Bought it on a whim. Really wasn't thinking about it. And trying to get off that thing has been truly something else. Apparently the nicotine salts are a lot stronger than the stuff I was using when I used to vape before. When I was able to, like, quit cold turkey, because I wasn't getting that much nicotine. Trying to taper down from that jewel has been quite a challenge. It is seriously a lot more addictive than your standard vape stuff. I can't say I recommend the jewel. And holy shit are those little pods expensive. Fuck that. Oh my god. What a money sink. Yeah, I'm good. I picked up a little vape to put some, like, regular ass, you know, normal 3 milligram normal person fucking nicotine liquid into so that I could taper off from the fucking freebase bullshit of the jewel. Just don't even start that. Don't use Juul. Do not do that. It is a mistake. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Alex. It's like going from beer to liquor. And I fucking was not thinking about it, did not research it. It was a real dumb cunt move on my part. Juul was, like, specifically designed for people quitting cigarettes. I could see it maybe specifically working well for that, because it is so much nicotine. Like, and you get used to it really quickly, because that's how drugs work, and, like, oh my god. Yeah, it's orders of magnitude more concentrated than the liquid that I used to use when I used to vape. So anyway, point being, I'm in the process of using, like, a lower milligram liquid to taper off of the stronger shit. But eventually I would like to quit it completely. Because I only picked it up again because I was waiting to get health insurance so I could get on the fucking actual stimulants I use for my attention deficit. It's hard to grad school without stimulants if you have an attention deficit, as it turns out. I've gotten a lot of these. I'm gonna have to start being picky. No, I got all those. Located under the red grate. No, I got that. I got that. Oh, I could go get that one at the shrine now. Yeah, I'll go to that one. Alright. So, let's try this again. So we were talking about research ethics. And, tell you, the fucking Jewel, that's like a whole separate conversation about fucking business ethics, I think, to be honest. I'm not sure it should be legal to sell something like that at gas stations. I feel like you should need a prescription for that device, but I don't know. One cunt's opinion. Where was I trying to go? Keys Coffee Shop? Where the fuck is that? Oh, no. Here. That's where I need to go. Yeah, anyway, so, when I was playing fucking Kentucky Route Zero and suffering through that, we had briefly discussed that there is a history to research ethics that have, that has, I guess, painted the picture of why they're necessary. Obviously, you know, a lot of people have heard of, like, some of the most egregious examples, like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that was done in, like, concentration camps, for example, that, you know, was, about as bad as you can get with regard to violating research ethics. But some other examples that we talked about before were, like, the Tuskegee study, which, I was Googling that while I was gone, by the way. I was, like, waiting for the shit to start back up again. The U.S. Department of Health did that one. Jesus fucking Christ. So, I think this is where I need to go. And that was, definitely a disgrace. The Milgram Obedience Study, the Stanford prison experiment, also a couple of really questionable psychology studies that'll usually get brought up anytime you talk about ethics and psychology. Those both happened in the 70s, I believe. Yeah, a lot of things either were like came to a head or were otherwise done in the 70s to spur the need for new ethics rules, shall we say. And I mentioned also in the 80s there were some new rules with regard to how we treat animals in research. The reason I mention all this is twofold. One, I want to remind people that we weren't always this well behaved, and that this history is important to remember, because it wasn't that long ago. We're talking like less than 50 years ago. Some of these appalling fucking things happened, and yeah, for that reason, it is important to follow to the letter the rules that have been set out for us by the people who were appalled by these events. I did not see, I don't believe, the Minefield episode about the Stanford prison experiment. I don't think. I feel like I would remember that if I saw that. He essentially attempted to boil down the experiment to its bare essentials so that it didn't inflict trauma. I feel like I would have remembered that if I saw it. That's not ringing any particular bells. On a lowered outcrop of the cliff found to the left of the path. I feel like I only got one cat over there. So I guess I should go over there. Now, it says there's 3 here. I'm gonna try something real quick. Power of the turtle. Turtle power of the east, rather. At the top of the Yamato shrine, push. I don't remember all the directions I pushed this. So I remember I got the one that, okay, so I must have already done that. We'll see. Yeah, I'll have to see that, because, I study authority dynamics, and, that's, unfortunately... Oh, hey, cool, okay. I mean, I'm down for that, but I think I might have gotten everything here, because if I... Frame rate, please. Oh my god. Cool. Yeah, I don't think I've ever cited that study, but I might have cited Milgram. The mock grant that I wrote, the one that I'd written so far, had a number of interesting citations in it. Yeah, I think I exhausted this already. I'm gonna go to that island. There's, yeah, there's a number of kind of questionable now research studies that happened related to authority that occurred around that time, like in the 70s when the obedience study and the prison experiment happened, that put people off of doing social dominance and authority research for like a couple decades. There's really like a couple decades after that happened where this shit kind of just drops off. There's sort of like some radio silence in the research if you go back looking through it, where people just really didn't want to touch this shit. And there is, and I think that also has to do with like the general culture in the academy surrounding the notion of any sort of hierarchy in humans. There's a lot of folks who just don't want to hear about that at all. Like, even the vibe of it. Like, even if you're fucking, like, just talking about this shit in, like, a, you know, measurable behavioral sense, they still, like, just don't want it. I've since kind of, like, since figuring out how to speak about this stuff to humanities folks, I've not encountered the same sort of resistance to talking about this that I did when I first started talking about it and I didn't know what kind of language to use. Hey, that's the one. Cool shit. But anyway, that's getting a bit off topic. Let's talk about Kant. He most notably assumed dominance via physical presence. I see. Oh, you're saying that he had some blind spots with regard to recreating it. Yeah, I have a feeling I'm gonna have some ethological nitpicks with how he chose to do that, because yeah, if he wasn't considering things like how someone's physical presence would influence somebody's behavior, that's a pretty big fucking oversight. I'll have to watch that, because I do not remember having seen that. I've got a number of Minefield episodes to catch up on. It's the kind of show that I want to pay complete attention to, and it's like so fucking rare these days that I can fucking put on something and just totally watch it the entire time. But I really need to do that. It's always, like, I never regret doing it. Yeah, so, with regard to Kant, sorry, let me read this first. Yeah, a lot of academics today unfortunately have trouble not hearing the words dominance and hierarchy in Jordan Peterson's voice. Correct. And that's exactly the fucking vibe that I'm trying to fucking avoid when I talk about this shit, because he is clearly not coming from a good place on it, if you listen to him talk long enough. And I'm not there with it at all. I'm just trying to understand it. I'm trying to understand it as it is, and not how I think it should be, which is where Jordan Peterson fucks up. He's got a lot of, what's that, Hume's guillotine? Yeah, he's got a lot of that. A lot of problems with that distinction between is and ought. He sucks at that. Yeah, I don't have a lot of notions about how things should be in the world, how people should behave. A lot of people seem totally unable to, like, have preferences, but not force those on other people. Like, you're allowed to like things and prefer people act certain ways without making demands of people in that regard. That just fucking confuses a lot of people, I guess. Anyway, so, sorry. Kant. And I agree, Alex, that he co-opted a lot of this conversation for his own narrative. But frankly, the Academy created the vacuum that Jordan Peterson stepped into by virtue of not addressing these issues. I've said it before, this research is fucking 50 years behind where it should be, and I'm gonna do my best as one fucking grad student to bring it back up to where it needs to be. It's a tall order. I'm on it. Sorry, I'm, Folky Poke Village? Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I know where this one is. Sorry, Kant. I keep getting away from this. So, Kant's, like, overarching moral theory is this thing called the categorical imperative, and I think the crux of it is what Urchak just put in chat here. You act only on such principles as you will be universal law. Which is kind of another way, I suppose, is saying, you know, do unto others as you would have them do to you. Wait. Oh. You guys, I just now understood. So this is the town from which all the kids were getting stolen by the dragon, right? And do you remember when we were here before, I was like, this music's really kind of unduly anxious. It sounds like some kind of murder mystery is happening. It wasn't a murder mystery, it was a kidnapping mystery. But the thing is, I thought after I helped the prince out, but was it the Ghost Toys Castle? Did I have to beat the Ghost Toys Castle in order to, like, free the kids? Is that when they fucking came back? I never saw the fucking kids. Like, I never... Anyway, point being, this music is completely different than when we were last here, and it's a lot happier and more upbeat now, and it sounds more appropriate, because the kids that got kidnapped are apparently back. So it wasn't unduly anxious, it was anxious because there were fucking kids that done got kidnapped. Yeah. I like this game more every time I play it. Yeah, you were not here before. For Itaro. My dad was in last year's folk dance championship, where he tried to dance like Jekyll Maxon. Jekyll Maxon, you guys. But it looked more like some kind of rain dance to me. That's a good way of putting that. Kant's categorical imperative, the crux of it. The things you want aren't special just because they benefit you. That's the way to put that. a big part of that shit, as I understand it, is treating people not as means, but as ends in themselves. So you should not use people as a means to your own end. You should recognize that people in themselves are ends. They have their own ends, and they are not something for you to use to achieve your ends. You get me? So, you know, don't use people. Recognize that they have their own goals, their own lives, their own things that they're trying to achieve, their own motivations, their own, you know, relationships and everything. I think that principle that, you know, use people, or rather don't use people as means, but rather treat them as ends in themselves, is a big part of research ethics. Because, you're essentially, like, the whole process of obtaining somebody's consent for a study, of, you know, debriefing them on what's happened after it's over, every precaution you can take to make sure that the person is comfortable and that they don't, you know, come to any harm while they're participating in the study. These are all things that you're doing in order to better acknowledge the participants in your study as their own ends, rather than as, you know, a means by which you conduct science. Same goes for animal research. It's that line gets blurrier with animal research because, you know, you do a lot of things in animal research that you could never do with humans. And I've definitely seen and even worked in labs that I would say maybe treated their animals more as means rather than ends in themselves. And that's not okay. And, you know, we're still working on becoming more ethical in our conduct of research all the time, but I would say the rules now are certainly better than they've ever been. Yeah, no, exactly. Rule number 1 of this stream is to conduct yourself with Sonder in mind. Sonder being the feeling of recognizing that everyone has a story that is just as complex as your own, and to not treat people as though they are just characters in your life, but rather conducting their own lives and are their own protagonists of their own story. And, you know, basically, yeah, it all comes back to kind of, you know, treating people how you would like to be treated. Don't act on principles unless you would will that everyone do that. You know, the things you want aren't special just because they benefit you. This all comes back to that, just sort of the fucking recognition and the constant reminder that you are not the center of the goddamn universe. And the world does not exist to serve you. You know, right? This shit sounds so obvious as you say it, but watch people. Watch people not do this constantly. You know, I try to be as mindful of it as I can, and I still occasionally kind of fuck up. You know, it's hard sometimes, especially when you get, like, very consumed with your own bullshit. If you're overwhelmed with your own life, it becomes a lot more difficult to treat people as their own ends rather than just, you know, using whatever they have for you to your own benefit without considering what that does for them, how they benefit from it, etc. I try to recognize if, you know, if people are in a state like that where they really, like, aren't even in a mental position to fully regard me. You know, I'll be lenient with people to an extent if I get the idea that they're in a really rough spot, but if that persists for a while, it can become abusive, and I've definitely been party to you know, a relationship situation like that. Not a romantic one, but like a couple of friendships where that happened. Like, I was, you know, trying to help out my friend, and you know, at first I was okay with them not being as considerate of me, but then as, you know, time went on, it became clear that it was not just a temporary thing, and they were actually just kind of shitty in a way that they really needed to fix before I could deal with them. So Sorry, I'm looking at, the list here. Fall through the cracks in the inclined wooden path that leads to the Ghost Toys castle. I'm not gonna go back and do that one yet until I have this extra ability, so I'm gonna skip the EO ones and the Ghost Toys ones for now. Chugoku region. Aki Nagato, where the fuck is that? Where the fuck is that? Apparently there was a cat in the desert that I missed. What's in the sea? What the fuck? I think I maybe remember where this area was. Let's just go over there and I'll figure it out. Izumo, I think it was here. So yeah, as I mentioned, I have I guess you could say rocky history with research ethics. The last time I was in a PhD program, that lab that I was in, I eventually left after some ethical disagreements with my advisor. That story is short to the point of damn near being dishonest, but it's all I'm willing to get into it at the moment. It's fine. It's an okay summary. Anyway, so it's something that I, after that experience especially, took care to kind of look into and make sure that I understand, both, how things are done and why they're done that way. Which is why I wanted to start off by talking about the history of this stuff, because, it's easy to forget why we do this if you don't bear that sort of, like, dark history of research ethics in mind. It's easy to forget why we have the stringent sort of rules and procedures that we do, in, like, psychology, for example, where you feel like you're really just not endangering people that much with a lot of this shit, but you still have to fucking put everything through your institutional review board, and it's a whole bunch of red tape and bullshit. It's all just a giant pain in the ass, and nobody likes it, and I know that. I've lived that, I get it. However, that entity, that institutional review board, exists in order to prevent things like this from happening. And we didn't have mandatory institutional review board review of all studies involving human subjects until, like, after all of this bad shit happened. So, as much of a giant pain in the ass as it is, it is a necessary process in the conduct of research, especially with human subjects. Stuff with animals obviously also has to pass review, but I think it's a different board that does, or wait, is it I think maybe the IRB. Damn, I can't remember now. It's been a while since I actually did animal research. But we'll just stick with human subjects since that's what I'm working with now. So yeah, the IRB, the Institutional Review Board, has to review every bit of research that gets done at a particular institution. This is usually something that's with reference to universities, but I think there's an institutional review board process at any institution that's conducting research on humans, certainly. If they were doing anything other than, like, administering very mild surveys, I think they would have to do that. Like, I can think of, like, market research companies and shit like that obviously don't have to get review from, you know, some board to do their jobs. There's apparently another oasis around here. I'm just gonna have to keep walking around till I find it. Excuse me. But yeah, any sort of research that you're doing on like a university campus, especially that like psychology professors are doing, for example, that necessitates review by a board like this. And the institutional review board is made up both of people within psychology and people from the community more generally. And you might think that's kind of weird, because like, why would you want non-experts in here evaluating this? But that's actually exactly the reason they're there. They are there to serve as a like common sense check for these people that are you know, kind of blinded by their own expert effects, maybe to the point of allowing unethical shit that a lot of people in the community would not approve of. So that is why they have people from the broader community, you know, like teachers, firefighters, you know, pillars of the community, normal folk. They have those people on institutional review boards, again, just to like serve as like a common sense gut check on the research that's being done at the academy. Because like I said, these folks, they get kind of cloistered. They get sort of up their own asses, and you know, kind of unable to correctly gauge what a lot of people might be thinking of their research. I don't know where this fucking oasis is. It says southeastern corner. You're bullshitting, man. I'll keep walking. Anyway, so there was this this hoax recently that got through the humanities. It got the nickname so-called squared. I to be honest kind of think that's a fucking disgrace to the so-called affair, but okay. Essentially, these three PhDs, I think it was like a philosophy PhD, a math PhD, and a history PhD. Only one of which actually had a job as a professor at a university. Decided to write a bunch of phony papers for man, this is the only oasis here. I'm not seeing any other oases. In the oasis in the southeast corner of the desert. I'm not seeing it, man. I'm not seeing it. I don't remember getting a cat here. Do I have to swim around, maybe? I thought I already did this last time. Anyway, sorry, I was talking about the hoax. So, yeah, as I mentioned, they wrote a bunch of, like, fake papers. They tried a lot of different shit. It really just kind of sounded like they were just, like, skimming the existing research and kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what stuck. They ended up submitting, like, dozens of papers, and only a few got accepted. I think one of them was actually, like, acknowledged for its scholarship or something like that, but the rest of them were, like, in, frankly, pretty low-tier journals, like low-impact journals that would have been prone to maybe accepting a paper like that. And because, like I said, they tried so much shit, it was just like, it was really a lot like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, which is not normally, like the Sokal affair, for example, was a paper, one, that did its due diligence with regard to, like, contextualizing itself in the work that it was trying to criticize. And having looked into the three people that did this hoax, I can tell you that they really don't understand very well exactly what they're critiquing. They have a very kind of black and white, simplistic understanding of, like, what social justice is as a concept and what a lot of these departments are doing. Now, this is not to say that there is not a huge amount of, like potentially intellectually dishonest, just abject leftist nonsense coming out of humanities academia right now. I'm not saying that that's not happening. I'm saying that this hoax would have seemed to be a sort of a cheap, blunt force attack intended to humiliate the humanities. And it certainly got him a lot of bad press, and all of that. I'm losing my mind, y'all. I feel like I've walked around this desert about 3 fucking times. I'm gonna try one more time. It said it's in the southeast corner. So, like, should I just keep to this wall and see what happens, maybe? I'll do that. I don't remember there being more than one fucking oasis in this fucking desert. So we'll see about all that. So they like I said, it was not a very elegant shitpost relative to the so-called affair. And I'm losing my mind. Losing it. I need pictures. I need fucking pictures. Like, this would appear to be the only oasis in the southeast corner of this desert. And I do not recall getting a fortune cat there, but I might have been wrong about that. Who knows? I can't remember. I think I might just call it a day on this one and go look for another one. There might have been a cat here. I thought it was just a battery. I don't remember there being a cat here. I do not remember there being a cat here. Alright, I'm gonna walk back. Nah, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking Dargon. Doing the Dargon. Sorry, so, the reason I'm bringing up this, this hoax is because, more recently, one of the people who did it, the person who actually had a job at a university, the other people are, not really subject to punishment on this, because I don't think they technically did anything illegal. Like, I don't think the people who aren't professors, like, I don't think they necessarily... It's a gray area. I think depending on what they did, they could potentially have charges. Damn it! There's no way to cancel that, unfortunately. Oh, wait! Wait. Can you seriously cancel that by pressing B while it's happening? I just learned that. I seriously just learned that. Okay, cool. Cool shit. Cool shit. I already got these other ones. I'm pretty sure. I'll go around with Suzuki and make sure I popped open all the doors. The cracked ones. So yeah, this, the professor, the philosophy professor who participated in this hoax, he had a job, or has a job, I should say, at a university. Still has it for the moment. And unsurprisingly, when his institution's IRB heard about what he did, because it got a lot of press coverage, it would seem that was the point, they immediately went to the media with it and seemingly reveled in all the attention they were getting. It was a stunt. It was a stunt. They tried to frame it as like some kind of, oh, this is a study, you see, burp, 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 burp. Yeah, honey, that was like a fucking undergrad could have designed a better experiment than that. Terrible. Terrible. No control group. First of all, what fucking variables were you measuring? Like, it was just complete fucking nonsense. It was, seriously, if y'all had run this by, like, a fucking psychology undergrad, they could have corrected some of the glaring fucking problems in your quote-unquote experiment. You didn't run an experiment, you ran a fucking prank. You ran it with the fucking, like I said, skill and grace of a fucking undergraduate, unsupervised. Just terrible. Seriously, and literally, if they had talked to even one psychology professor about this, they would have told them, yo, y'all need to run this by your IRB, otherwise you're gonna get in trouble for doing it. And I really don't see how none of them could have known that. I understand that, you know, history and math certainly, and philosophy don't generally have to deal with institutional review boards, but like I said, if they had asked even one psychology professor about this, they would have told them. They would have told them that you were gonna get in trouble for this. It's such a complete fucking no-brainer to anyone who knows anything about this. And they were running a psychology study. I can't call it an experiment because it's not. There's no control group. There's no fucking independent or dependent variables. It's not a fucking experiment. It's an experiment according to a mathematician, a historian, and a philosopher that, like, apparently never read a fucking experiment in their lives. So, I thought this was a cat over here for some reason. Did I? No, I already got the ones over there. Sorry, I know I'm just running around in circles. So yeah. The reason I bring this up is because, I had some disagreements with people, like, close to me in my own life, as well as people I enormously respect and normally, agree with on, like, everything, about this particular, stunt from an ethical perspective. So, I kind of, I don't think that this professor should lose his job over this. I think that would be an overreaction to what he did. However, I think if he doesn't face any meaningful punishment for this, that would be a mistake. And I will explain why. So they did a couple of things that kind of elevated this from funny prank to something with ethical considerations. So first of all, at least one of the studies, I think it was actually several, in at least one of the studies, they fabricated a shitload of data in order to pass it off as like an actual study to these journals. And that's violating something called the ethics of data, which is its own fucking thing. We've been mostly talking about the ethics of persons, as it's called, with regard to, you know, treating people as ends and not means, and otherwise ethically treating participants in your experiments with dignity and respect. I don't need to go this way, sorry. But with the ethics of data, that's really just like a matter of obviously not making shit up. That's a big one. Don't make shit up. That's top of the heap there. Run your statistics correctly. Do not cook your numbers, so to speak. This has been called in more recent years a phenomenon called p-hacking, which refers to manipulating your statistics essentially in order to get a statistical result that has a p-value or a probability value of under .05 usually is the standard, which means that the chance that you've found something, or rather the chance that the statistic that you have is not reflective of what you've found is less than 5%. It's like a less than 5% error rate, and that's usually the mark for people. I need to find. Maybe I'll go in the middle one. Maybe that's what I need to do. So that's another part of the ethics of data. Shit like that. Making sure you're collecting data correctly. This is also, like, you know, ties into methodology and whether or not you're actually measuring the things you say you're measuring, you know, validity in that regard. So anyway, they violated that. That's its own thing. They did also violate some ethics of persons by essentially forcing a bunch of, like, underpaid graduate students and you know, assistant professors and otherwise people who were busy and probably had better shit to be doing to review their fucking bunk papers and fake data and all of this shit. Those people were not asked for consent to participate in this study, nor were they compensated in any way for their time and effort, nor were they debriefed for their participation in this study. A lot of them did not find out they had been subject to anything funny until, you know, the story broke, essentially. So yeah, I think that's pretty apparently using people as means rather than ends, which, as I mentioned, is kind of the crux of why we have these rules with regard to research. With regard to people, anyway. So, yeah, there's that. And they also violated ethics with regard to how you are supposed to represent this stuff to peer-reviewed publications. There's an assumption of honesty there that they violated by submitting fake data, by I believe faking their credentials as well, which is another pretty big no-no in science. I don't know how else to say this. They broke so many rules that you just never fucking break in science in order to pull this stunt. And God, man, I can't help but be in awe of how bad they fucked it up. Like, I hate to sound so cunty about it, but, like, holy shit. Seriously. A fucking 19-year-old psychology student taking their first psychology class could have designed a better experiment than these 3 PhDs did. And they wouldn't have gotten in trouble for it because they would have known enough to know that they needed to run that by an institutional review board. And here's the thing, that I heard a bunch of people saying, like, oh, they wouldn't have gotten the study approved. IRBs approve all kinds of deceptive research. All kinds. It's about how good the design of the experiment is and whether or not what you're learning justifies what you've put people through. That is a judgment that is made by the institutional review board, not the fucking scientists. We have seen where we get when we let scientists decide what's okay. That's the history of research ethics. You cannot fucking let scientists decide what is okay with regard to this shit. You don't get to regulate yourself with regard to this shit. I must have gotten those too, man. I must have fucking gotten that. Beside a ladder at the bottom of the stream. Huh. And where the fuck was that? Was that at the festival Temple Castle? Wait. There is one at the fucking waterfall. Fuck me. I knew it. Alright. Sorry, I hadn't looked at chat in a while here. There's a side protagonist in a Heinlein novel that has a doctorate in education based on a thesis with no worth, but loaded with buzzwords designed to game his review board's expectation. Yeah, that is what they did, isn't it? Little bit. I mean, minus the review board, I suppose, but they did that with regard to actually passing the peer review process. Which, to be fair, like, they got fucking, like, reamed in peer review for a number of reasons. Like, people did not generally regard these papers that they were submitting as good. They just, like I said, threw a bunch of shit at the wall, and eventually a bunch of shit stuck. You know, the peer review process is not perfect. If you throw enough shit at the wall, eventually some of it will stick. That is indeed something that will happen with most anything. I'm going the wrong way here. Yeah, the scientific method relies on the basic assumption of good faith review. Thank you. And yeah, drug companies did do that for years. Oh, hey, Goose. Been a minute. So you're saying that essentially a novice could have designed a better experiment. Don't you think that indicates their excuse is garbage and they actually just were doing it because they enjoyed fucking with people? Or was that your original point? That was indeed my original point. Congratulations. I was saying, yes, that this was, I mean, nakedly a stunt. There was no fucking scientific value to what they did. Like I mentioned, there's no control group, they're not measuring any variables, this is not an experiment in any fucking sense of the word. And I would expect better from people with PhDs. I understand that we were dealing with a math PhD, a history PhD, and a philosophy PhD, but regardless, you have a PhD. That is something that you acquired through research. That's what that degree means. You did research in order to obtain that degree. And the notion that you thought you could essentially run like a fucking bootleg psychology experiment without even talking to, seriously, even one fucking psych professor about it. Like I said, a fucking undergrad midway through Psych 101 in fucking college could have told you, like, oh shit, yeah, dog, you need to run that by an IRB first or you're gonna get in trouble. Like, for real, 3 PhDs and not one of them had a mind to fucking contact a psychology professor about this dumb shit that they were doing? Oh, how did I miss this? How did I miss this? I swam all the way around here. Well, damn. Well, damn. Is it up here? So yeah, that was my point, is they were trying to put on this air of like, oh, it's the fucking experiment. Honey, no. No, it wasn't. And if y'all get dragged through the ringer for it, it serves you right. Holy shit. I don't think they're going to, though. This is something that, like, fucking John fucking Haidt, senpai, went on Joe Rogan and fucking had him a fucking giggle about this fucking hoax. And to be honest, like, he's a very socially intelligent man. I think he probably just knew where he was and knew, you know, how to behave in the circumstances. But I also think that he is, I mean, he started Heterodox Academy for a reason. This is kind of what the hoax is trying to address in its own fucking inelegant, shitposty way. So I do think he's just kind of biased towards allowing whatever. But here's the and like, I argued with fucking Brett Weinstein about this on Twitter a couple of times. We got into it over this shit. And I think both him and John Haidt are fucking failing to consider the longer-term implications of what this hoax means. Sorry, hold on. Dang. Let me look at chat real quick. Experiment. Can we validate anti-science yokels' inherent bias against people who know things? Method. Whatever bullshit. I don't know, man. You guys, Pretty So you said you got lost, Goose? Where did I lose you? I don't want to lose you, man. I'm trying to keep up. What was the name of this tunnel? Shit, this might be the tunnel I need to be in, but I'm not sure. BoJack's one of the best things on TV, man. For real. Okay, this is the tunnel. Beside a ladder at the bottom of the stream, hop in the current and ride to the bottom to find it. Okay. This sounds like a stream. Shit. Okay, I think this is the stream. Wait, what? Oh! Fuck me, there it is. Alright. Yeah, it seriously is the best thing on TV at the moment. So anyway, sorry, I was talking about what I think both John Haidt and, Brett Weinstein, though I think I eventually got through to him because I saw a little bit of a tone change in how he was talking about this after the last time we interacted. But, essentially, what these folks did, making up data, faking their credentials, doing all these kind of dirty tricks in order to get a bunch of fucking bullshit published in a bunch of humanities journals. A person could do this to quote-unquote debunk basically any sort of field of study that they happened to, that they happened to disagree with. And something that I don't think at least Brett Weinstein understood until I pointed it out is that evolutionary psychology would be perhaps even equally susceptible to a similar hoax. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't want EvoPsych being discredited like that. And yeah, suddenly he changed his tone. It's like, gee, Brett, if anyone, I would expect you to have thought through the fucking game theory of allowing everyone to do this to any field of study that they personally find questionable. Like, goddamn. Like, you really could, man. Maybe not nowadays, but like, man, EvoPsych back in like fucking 2011, 2010, those late noughties, man. You could have fucking, oh yeah, that'd have been fucking prime time for some nonsense like that. Man, they had to reel themselves in a little bit because they started getting a reputation that they were frankly earning for being just a bunch of people kind of making up evolutionary stories that they were really just vaguely backing up with this data. And like, it's better now. It's maybe not as susceptible as it was about 10 years ago to some kind of prank like this, but you know what? If there's no rules, if you can just make up data, if you can just fake your fucking credentials like these people did, you can do it. You could do it. And I don't think he fucking even thought about that, and I'm not sure John Haidt did either. It would not be difficult for someone to put through a hoax just like this, breaking all these fucking rules, to go and discredit EvoPsych, which I don't want to happen. That's like my, broadly speaking, my field of study. I don't want people to discredit that. Certainly no more than it's already discredited itself with its own bullshit. So yeah, I feel like, as sort of buttoned up and perhaps mockable as it sounds, I think it's really important to follow the rules here. And not just because, like the data they made up, for example, was like, it was not significant. It was like, I think it was like about dog genitals or something. It was like a rape culture dog park paper. The papers were all like, I guess they were funny if you think laughing at social justice generally is funny, but I just thought it was sort of like crass and maybe something that assholes would find funny on YouTube 5 years ago, but not really anything comedically groundbreaking. I almost said brown-breaking. That's the, What is it, 2 in the morning? Yeah, alright. Groundbreaking ethics violations, these guys. So yeah. To be clear, I don't think that anyone was, I guess, harmed that much by this hoax. But, the reason it bothers me is kind of, I guess it's 2 reasons. One is, these 3 people with fucking doctorates should have been able to do this correctly. They should have been able to consult psychology professors about this. They should have been able to design a proper experiment. They should have been able to get that past the IRB. And they should have been able to do this like fucking academics instead of like teenagers pulling a fucking prank. That's what I'm saying about that. And also, it sets a bad precedent. Like I said, if we allow anyone to just, you know, fucking make shit up, fake their credentials, you know, bullshit, and put people through whatever to, you know, debunk or discredit or otherwise fucking humiliate entire fields of study that they fucking, you know, have political problems with, that's gonna get dangerous real quick. If you fucking just make that a normal thing, it's a dangerous precedent from like a fucking like, you know, standards of dignity standpoint. Like, you know what I mean? Cause like, Alex, do you remember when we went to Counterpoint and they had this big tower up with these banners hanging from it that had the schedule for the music acts for each day on it. So it would have like, you know, time blocks. It was just like, it was kind of like if you looked up the schedule on a website, but it was like huge and printed out on banners on these towers. And one night, I think it was like maybe Saturday night, I noticed that someone had cut one of the schedule slots. It was probably like, you know, their favorite group or their favorite artist or whatever. They thought like, oh man, this would be fucking cool. And I don't know if you remember me saying this to you, but I said, like by tomorrow night, that thing's gonna be destroyed. And sure enough, by Sunday night, yeah, people had been clipping left and right. The thing was all torn up, like halfway up it, basically, like as high as people could reach. Oh, I never changed the fucking, that's fine, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not playing Kentucky Route Zero anymore. That game bored me to tears, so I went along to playing Goemon. So anyway, yeah, that would have never happened. Like, those other people would have never clipped off their favorite bands from this fucking schedule banner if that first person hadn't done it. And there's a lot of research to back that up. It's something that gets referred to as social entropy, as well as some other things. In like cognitive and social psych, but it essentially describes a phenomenon of like, once someone breaks a rule, it makes it easier and more likely that other people around them are going to break the same rules. And it is really difficult to restore those rules and those standards once they start to break down. And that is really the critical reason why I think these ethics violations need to be taken more seriously than a lot of people seem to be taking them, even though they did not cause a huge amount of harm immediately. It's about the social and academic precedent that it set. And I'm hoping that helps explain why I am so sort of, like, I find this so ethically questionable. It's not because a lot of people were harmed in the making of this hoax, it's because of the standard that this hoax set for what is apparently now okay by a lot of people in the academy with regard to discrediting and, you know, quote-unquote debunking studies that you don't agree with. Entire fields of study that you don't agree with. Either politically or, you know, epistemically or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, and the chimpiness ensued. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I called that shit, and I didn't want it to be true, but holy shit, I just knew it in my fucking soul that was gonna happen. There used to be a cross street up in Santa Margarita that people stole all the time. The corner of Antonio and Banderas. Oh my god, shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Oh my god. Broken windows policing? Is that just the phenomenon of people in, like, dilapidated neighborhoods being overly fucking policed and more likely to be harassed by cops? NYPD used that as a justification for a shitload of racist stop and frisk. Yeah! Also that. Oh, apparently there is a fortune cat in the Japan Sea. There's also one in the festival village that I might have gotten already, but I'll check. So yeah, that's, I guess, that was 2 reasons why I found this really kind of personally offensive. My own husband was not with me on this, and John Haidt was not with me on this, and the reason that they were both not with me on this is because they actually think that this has gotten to this point. Meaning that they think that the corruption and bullshit coming out of the humanities at the moment is actually so bad that it warranted a dirty trick like this. And, like, I can understand that argument. And honestly, it's sort of difficult for me to even refute, because I, as a, you know, even as a neuroethics person, I've only had, you know, some passing exposure to a lot of the sort of academic philosophy that people are bitching about. Excuse me. The philosophy that I read in the classes that I've taken on it is more related to, like, cognitive human behavior stuff. It's not really related to, like, you know, like race and gender, for example, or, you know, anything related to what could be considered social justice. Which, to be clear, are not really the only problem areas. It's just the thing that's got people riled up the most, and certainly the thing that's got these 3 hoaxers riled up the most, looking at their fucking Twitters, which are just constant anti-SJW diatribes, particularly the math guy. Like, he has got fucking no life outside of this. Like, I don't know what you were doing with that math PhD before, man, but, like, God, he just looks like a screaming idiot. And the thing is, he's got a bunch of support of other screaming idiots on Twitter. Like, if he could see the people liking his tweets, he would be quieter. That's maybe the best way to put that. If you could actually see the people that are cheering you on, dude, you'd be questioning your damn self. That's a problem with Twitter, man. Like, cool, I got 1,000 likes. It's like, what if you got 1,000 likes from fucking really questionable ass stupid people that you didn't want the approval of in the first place? You don't fucking know, do ya? Like, you know, you can look through profiles, I guess, but I doubt he even does that. A lot of these people just seem like fucking just straight hooked to the fucking IV with regard to getting this social media validation. They just got totally sucked in to what I've called in the past the anti-SJW validation vortex, which is basically when you, like, go onto any social media platform, YouTube, whatever, and just start saying, like, rah, 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 feminism, rah, rah, rah. And people flock to you. Like moths to a bitchy flame. Like, yeah, as it turns out, there's still a lot of bigotry in the world, and a lot of stuff that, you know, can maybe border on bigotry, but maybe isn't quite there, on the spectrum of it at least. And, people like to get all mad about a lot of this shit. Oh, I know you could buy surprise packs, that's cool. Sure, why not? 8 attacks, wow. Nice. What the hell was I saying? It's kind of getting to that point in the evening. I don't really know. Let's see. I've got two hearts left to fill out. And I think all of those things are things that I need that other ability to do. I'm pretty sure. I guess I can go to EO and get that one at the hot springs. Yeah, I'll go do that real quick. Why not? I don't really remember what I was saying. I think I had just about done all the. I think I was just fucking ranting about the math PhD who did this hoax. It might sound like I'm being dismissive because I'm not naming these people, but I seriously, honestly cannot remember their names, and I honestly don't think that will ever be important. So. Yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, Goose, like if you could actually look the people cheering you on in the face, I'm not sure you'd be so gung-ho about it, man. That is what I was talking about. Yeah, I think I'm good talking about that hoax. I think I outlined why I had issues with it. I'm here. I'm sorry. I remembered the point I was actually trying to make there. I'm saying that I maybe don't understand the severity of the problem enough to be making a value judgment as to whether or not this was a necessary and appropriate thing. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying, like, my husband, for example, who's had a lot of exposure to the humanities and, like, you know, upper level academic humanities shit, and John Haidt, who, you know, was in this problem so much that he started Heterodox Academy, like a good faith academic effort to try and correct this problem. They might be more qualified to judge whether or not this was an appropriate move. Nick, at least, you know, I obviously haven't spoken to John Haidt about it, but Nick, my husband, he was in agreement with me about the potential dangers of all of this, in terms of, you know, social entropy and all of that. However, he also, like I said, he just recognized the severity of the problem to be such that we did actually need these fucking dirty tricks to fucking embarrass these people into improving their methodology and you know, draining their own swamp, so to speak. I'm not sure how effective it's going to be honest, but, I suppose we'll see. Now, I'm still stunned that when I came here, this did not fill up my health. I'm gonna hurt myself real quick, just so I can see that really doesn't happen. Cause, like, I swear to God, every fucking video game I've ever played restored your health when you were in a hot spring. Maybe if I lay down. I'm gonna lay down in the hot spring. See how it goes. Hey! Hey! I knew it, motherfucker. Without fail. Y'all remember when I first came here and I was like, okay, I'm gonna recoup my fucking health in the hot spring because that's how video games work. Derp 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 derp. I'm not a fake gamer girl, and I fucking hop in this motherfucker and it didn't fucking heal me, and I got all sorts of pissed off and embarrassed about it. I guess I just had to lay down. Anyway. So yeah. It would seem that Nick, at least, did not disagree with me about my assessment of whether or not this was a pretty questionable thing. It's just he thinks that at this point, the problems within the humanities are such that this fucking series of dirty tricks was necessary. Which, hey, maybe. I can't say I've had enough exposure to it to say, necessarily. Was this down here? Yeah, there we go. Nice. Okay. I guess I did encounter a paper recently in this philosophy class that I'm in that, bothered me a lot, such that I, wrote an entire essay that nobody asked for, that I didn't need to write to put on the fucking class message board about it. It was about microaggressions, this paper, and the author, she's actually an author I had read before previously in another moral psychology class, who I thought, she's a good writer, she's clear, and I actually didn't agree, or didn't disagree with her at all with regard to what microaggressions are, why they offend people, why it's, appropriate and even morally justified to be angry when someone microaggresses against you. These are all things that I understand and even agree with. However, in her paper, this article, I argued that she essentially misrepresented the critics of the microaggression literature to the point that it was pretty much intellectually dishonest. For example, she dismissed this one guy's, Scott Lilienfeld. He wrote a fucking 30-page review paper about the microaggression literature. Excuse me, according to its own standards. So, he was trying to be very fair and, scientific with regard to evaluating this shit, because microaggressions as a behavior are actually very similar to a lot of other things that social psychology has already studied. And it's also, if you're going to call it aggression, there is a very long legacy of aggression literature and ethology and otherwise that you need to consider before you start using that word. And it would seem that these folks did no such thing, and at the moment, the microaggression literature is a little bit of a hot mess with regard to methodology and stringency and of definitions and its place in the conversation and how it's being discussed and yada yada. And this lady who wrote this article, she represented this paper. She essentially just dismissed it completely out of hand by saying he oversimplified the issue. I think I mentioned this. It's a 30-page review paper. There are 6 pages of citations. I read it. I've read it twice now. He is not oversimplifying this issue. That simply doesn't bear out in real life. I don't know how else to say that. That's not an honest representation of that work. And furthermore, she misrepresented John Haidt and Greg Lukianoff's view on this. They recently wrote a book called Coddling of the American Mind, where they talk about microaggressions and they look at the existing psychology research and correctly assert that a lot of the way we respond to shit is a function of how we're framing it. And by telling people to give folks the benefit of the doubt when they experience microaggressions rather than to assume malice or assume prejudice, we can both reduce the harm that's done by microaggressions and reduce the instances of them occurring. Again, this is all in the psychology literature already, these points. They're not you know, making any novel claims that they can't back up with research. And she tried to frame this perspective as them telling people to, quote, grow a thicker skin, which they never said, and that wasn't a proper representation of their viewpoint. So anyway, that really bothered me, because I had seen this woman correctly represent a lot of authors, but then suddenly when it came to these people who were critiquing the microaggression work, she just, it was like a fucking just code switch. Like, she just completely fucking started kind of lying about this fucking work, and I was just like, oh, It was sort of the first taste of it that I got, I guess. It was like, oh, y'all are really in, like, full science denial mode, ain't ya? Over there. Look at ya. Okay. I guess if that's how you're gonna play, like, if you're just gonna fucking, like, completely disregard critics of this stuff in a way that, as I mentioned, I regard it as intellectually dishonest, then maybe we do need some dirty tricks, because that's a dirty trick in itself. And just because you're being more passive about it doesn't mean I don't see you. You know? So, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. I just want everybody to be aware of the gravity of it. And I want you to know that if you start seeing this in other disciplines, you'll know who started it. And you'll know who to yell at. It was these three motherfuckers, like I said, pulling this shit off like fucking teenagers taking their mama car out for a joyride. Like, it was fucking bad. A fucking psych undergrad could have designed a better experiment and known that you needed to talk to your IRB, you absolute fucking morons. 3 PhDs. 3. Not one of them apparently had a friend in the fucking psych department. Couldn't email a motherfucker. Couldn't even email a motherfucker. Holy shit. Like, just fucking amateur hour bullshit, y'all. Alright, I'm gonna stop yelling about this. Let me look at chat. The humanities could be generating a load of bullshit, but the correct response is to generate a lot of studies invalidating that bullshit, not invalidating the process of publication. Thank you. Exactly. They're degrading the process in order to get at the thing that they want to get at. And it's like, you need to attack what you mean to attack. You're fucking throwing the baby out with the bathwater with this fucking shit, y'all. Like, yeah, fucking exactly. There's like a person sitting in a bookstore. Man, this Jordan Peterson book is shit. And then they proceed to burn down the bookstore. Yeah, it's a bit of an overreaction, I suppose, to say the least. But like I said, this was something that got disagreed upon within my own fucking household. And my hero in academia in this world, John Haidt, senpai himself, he also wrote the philosophy professor I was just talking about, who actually has a job at a university. He wrote him a letter defending him to his institutional review board, and so did a lot of other people. And I am actually glad he did that, because I don't want this person to lose his job, because then he'll be a martyr, and that'll be a problem. So I really hope they don't fire him, because that will generate a whole new set of issues that I just don't want to deal with. I want him to get a little bit of a slap on the wrist, something that'll make other people not want to do it, but that won't turn him into a fucking martyr. Holy shit, I really don't want him to get fired. Not because I don't think he doesn't deserve it, but because of what I know it'll mean. So, yeah, fucking exactly, Urchak. Yeah, he'll get a nice job at Fox News if they fucking fire his ass. I don't even want to think about the fucking cons. The thing is, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think there's honestly no fucking way he's gonna get fired. Not with all this fucking, like, this attention being paid to this case, and all the, like, fucking, John Haidt writing this guy a letter was a big deal. To be clear. John Haidt, you know, like, he doesn't have as much fucking mainstream recognition as Jordan Peterson, because he's not as obnoxious and fame-hungry as Jordan Peterson, but John Haidt is as famous in academia as one can get. Without, like, you know, spilling over into the mainstream. But I've argued he's done that, especially with this coddling of the American Mind book. You know, he's on fucking Real Time, on Joe Rogan, like, a lot of, like, mainstream outlets. And he's getting more comfortable in front of cameras and with interviewers, too. Like, he was not so great early on, but he's gotten better. Sorry, I'm looking at this list here. I think I might be done here, with the exception of the stuff that I still need this extra ability for. So yeah, I don't want this guy to lose his job. Again, not because I don't think he earned it, but because it'll turn him into a martyr, and it will generate a whole new set of fucking problems. So I really hope that they don't do that. Just a little slap on the wrist, maybe like, you know, I don't know. I don't really know how they punish people in these situations when they don't lose their jobs. They revoke research privileges, maybe, but you were a fucking philosophy professor who clearly hadn't done research before, so I don't think you getting your fucking research privileges revoked is really a huge fucking... that's no skin off this asshole's nose, I'm sure. Yeah, that's another thing. He'll probably get buried in academia, and no one will cite his shit, and no one wants to second on his papers. He'll probably get ostracized. Yeah, he'll probably get yeah, you're right, there's a lot of fucking just low-key political ways they can fuck with this guy. Yeah, you're teaching nothing but intro philosophy for the rest of your career. Have fun. Cunt. Yeah, I don't want him to get some dramatic punishment that I can, you know, read some fucking, like, you know, Pietà-style bullshit and Quillette about the next week. I don't want... like, I just don't. Just don't turn him into a martyr. That's all I'm asking for. This is my plea. Oh, fuck. Let me go back this way. You get to teach the trolley problem over and over and over again for the rest of your life to a bunch of opinion-as-question-having sophomores. This is truly one of the circles of hell for any academic. And yeah, might serve him right, man. I guess he was bored. I don't know. I really honestly don't get the idea that any of these three really give that much of a fuck about what these disciplines that they're so vocal and complaining about, like the problems that they're actually intended to address, which I do think that they've gotten away from, certainly, but like, I'm telling you, these guys, like, they think just the dumbest possible, like, straw man bullshit about feminism, which is just so untrue in real life that it doesn't pass the smell test for anyone who actually knows any real feminists. Which, you know, Kel Surprise, there's a lot of people that don't. So those people are the ones liking your tweets. Man, like... I have a hard time explaining it in a way other than that. It's a bunch of, like, kind of power, attention, and fame-hungry, mostly kind of failed academics cashing in on this anti-SJW wave in order to achieve some modicum of success in their lives. I can't say I'm very impressed with anyone who is really vocal in complaining about this shit. The only person in this entire conversation that could be regarded as fighting the problems in it that I do have any respect for is John Haidt. Because he started Heterodox Academy, and he's conducting himself and his efforts towards addressing this problem in a way that's both, you know, on the up and up, and something that will ultimately be more helpful than doing shit like, you know, running hoaxes like this. It's you know, like, he's putting in the effort, he's being respectful. There's just a lot of people being, like, just cunts about this that don't understand, like, they don't steel man their opponents, they straw man them. The difference between those two things being roughly what it sounds like. when you strawman an opponent, you represent them as something you can easily tear down or burn, whereas when you steelman an opponent, you represent their arguments, you know, more correctly, likely in a way that they would more approve of, so that you can actually debunk them rather than just put on the fucking show of debunking them, which is what a lot of people do. And which was kind of what the crux of this hoax was about, is like, y'all wanted to do this so that you could paint everyone in, you know, the academic humanities as the sort of idiot that would think this paper was good, when that's really just not accurate at all. And, yeah. I'm kind of out of shit to say on that, but, you know, hopefully, if you had noticed me upset about it on Twitter, for example, or if you had seen me arguing with Brett Weinstein about it, hopefully now you understand where I was coming from on that. I am not interested in defending any of the abject nonsense coming out of the humanities right now. I do think it's a problem, and I do think that's why Heterodox Academy and the people running it exist. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think it set a bad precedent, even if it was a necessary move or a justified move. I don't think it was necessary. It might have been justified, but I don't think it was necessary. Yeah, I would maybe think more of it if I, you know, had looked into the authors of this hoax and found people who were being respectful, being considerate of their opponent's arguments, and really coming at this from, like, a good faith place like John Haidt was, but the fact is, that's not what I see when I look at those people. So, yeah, I see a bunch of opportunists right now in this, I guess you'd call it intellectual dark web sphere. Just a bunch of, like, really mediocre at best academics who decided to start complaining about activism, and it's doing a whole world of good for their wallets, I guess. I kind of wonder if these guys know how other scientists and academics view them. If they did, they maybe wouldn't be so enthusiastic about what they're doing, but like I said, you don't look the people in the eyes, the ones who like you on Twitter. God damn it. I think I might have already gotten the one over there anyway. Ah, fuck it. Starting to lose steam here. It's alright, I've been at it a while. I'll have to do another little fortune cat run next stream before we head to space. It's gonna be great. Yeah, I did already get the one over here. Fuck me. Whew. Yeah, my throat's kind of starting to hurt. I should maybe call it a day. I kind of wanted to talk about how the fucking, like, a few remaining diehard red pill people are truly starting to look batshit, but they'll have to wait for another stream, I guess. Woo-wee. It's like, it's gotten, like, I've been watching this whole shit show since it started, basically. And, like, I've watched it evolve, and I think it's gotten to the point where, like, the antibiotics of, like, you know, normal sociality and, like, normal functioning people and people who, like, regard women as humans and all of that, that's sort of, like, gone to work on red pill, to the point where the people still remaining in it are truly fucking delusional. Like, the ones that are still there after all of that, after the fucking news coverage with incels and the murders and the fucking just bad press this fucking manosphere shit has gotten. Holy shit, man. The diehards remaining are truly something. Like, I was looking at the fucking Red Pill Reddit a few days ago, I like to look at it every like fucking like 6 months or so just to see what they're doing. And it's gotten to the point where there are people complaining that basically like, oh, there are a bunch of people out there trying to red pill people, but they don't know what they're talking about. They're really not, they're not familiar with how this shit really works, man. Got a bunch of like amateurs out there trying to red pill people and they're giving us a bad name. And it's like, no. Your dumbass ideology is just so bullshit and hate-riddled that any fucking idiot can parrot it and sound just like you. You are not special. I promise. And the people that you think are dumb really just sound exactly like you. You just don't want to admit that. Where's the fucking Japan Sea one? Found in the southwestern corner of the map. I might have already gotten this one, but I'm just gonna swim around anyway. I think I did already get this one, but wow, do any of us have the strength to go down the red pill hole? It has to be like the insisted gross ass parasite of human discourse by now. Oh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like, holy shit, I ran into a real peach on Twitter the other day that, like, apparently had argued with so many people about his horse shit at this point that he could predict every rational response that someone might have to his bullshit and him generally treating other people like they're automatons. And he used that as a means of trying to win an argument with me, and like I recognized what he was doing and how like truly pathetic it was in a behavioral sense that he could and would do that. But of course there were I was in like a red pill thread, so there were a bunch of people just around waiting to be like, yeah, he dunked on you because he predicted what you were going to do, which A, no he didn't, and B, that's not how you speak to people. Like, he was not trying to have a conversation with me. He was trying to beat me in an argument in front of other people, which he didn't do, but because he made a big show of it and other people don't recognize behaviorally what it meant that he could do that, they didn't basically what I'm saying is they're like self-selecting for, like, in reality the most pathetic people to be their new alpha males. So like if you imagined it couldn't get worse than like Roosh V and like Davis Arini and fucking like Matt Forney and all of those like absolute fucking losers before, dude, the next crop, y'all, you ain't seen nothing yet. These new guys are gonna be a whole fucking next level of pathetic and immunized to your fucking logic. Like, they're starting to sound like they're making essentially white nationalist arguments, but about women. So, like, for example, they'll say, like, oh no, I don't think women are inferior, I just think they should be submissive to men. Or, like, I think women are people, it's just they should also be, like, A, B, C, D, and also subservient to men. And it's like, you sound like fucking, like, philosophers from, like, 200 years ago when they're like, it's sort of, it's a lot of the same argument as when I was comparing it to white nationalism. I'm saying, like, if you talk to a white nationalist, and you shouldn't, but you'll hear them say things like, oh no, it's not that I think, black people or whoever are inferior, I just think that white people deserve their own ethno-state. and that they should, you know, they're entitled to their own homeland. That's all. And the reason I don't want people that aren't white in my homeland is because reasons. And it's like, you know what the fucking reasons are. Or like, fucking stop it. Fucking stop it. Holy shit. Holy fucking shit. And it's the same thing with these red pill dudes. It's like, oh no, I think women are people. It's just also they should do all of these things and behave all of these ways. Otherwise, they're basically not humans, and certainly not worthy partners of me, the mighty me. I've never encountered a red pill dude that I thought was either A, good looking, or B, articulate in any sense. Honestly, they're all just a bunch of like fucking just apey, fucking overconfident dumbasses. I can't, like, god damn it, if I'd met even one that I could respect or regard as like a good idea for a woman to date, maybe I would feel differently about it. But like, god damn it, every single one of them is just some fucking loser that I would never ever imagine me or anyone that I respected with. You know, it's like, I think just thinking that way comes with a certain set of characteristics, you know? If you could hack it with feminism, you probably wouldn't be talking like that. You just couldn't cut it, man. I can't find a girlfriend unless girls think they're inferior to me. Here are my list of demands. Please don't pay attention to the fact that I look like the bottom of a foot, and I don't have a job, and also I watch anime constantly. Be my waifu. Because, you know, I deserve that. Based on nothing. I can't deal with it, man. Like I said, if y'all thought Rouge V and his whole fucking clan were pathetic, you got it, man. The next crop, man. They're coming, and they're gonna be a whole new laughingstock for you. A whole new Voltron of fucking morons. It's gonna be good. Yeah, Red Pill 2.0. I'm trying to get out of here. I think I already got the cat down here. Yeah, and strangely, the homeland of white people should be where I live, in America, where the white people come from. Oh, baby. Like, holy fucking shit. Yeah, man. Ooh-wee. Something that has comforted me in, keeping track of red pill shit over the last, you know, fucking 5-6 years or whatever, is, I've noticed that it's not growing in popularity, which is good. If anything, it seems to be, like, numerically shrinking in terms of, like, how many people use these forums, how active they are. They're also undergoing more moderation. Like, for example, the red pill subreddit is quarantined. So you actually have to fucking, like, click around to even see threads there. I don't think it should be there at all, but, you know, quarantined is better than nothing, I suppose. As I've mentioned before, if they had a subreddit that talked about black people like red pillars talk about women, it would have been shut down yesterday, but, you know. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. Y'all should be really excited about this new crop of fucking alpha losers coming out to lead the fucking red pill movement. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Am I stuck here? Am I fucking stuck here? They lost a bunch of their discords. I see. I mean, that wouldn't stun me. It's just, like, it's openly fucking misogynistic shit in there. Like I said, they talk about women like they're animals. When these dudes talk to me, they're speaking to me like an animal. They're speaking to me like some kind of critter that has no internal monologue of my own, no goals of my own, no thoughts of my own. I'm just some, like, behavioral black box that you put inputs into and receive behavioral outputs out of. Yeah, femoids. Like, okay, baby. And they think that you can't tell that they're talking to you like that. Like, they think you're stupid. And it's like, this guy I was just talking about, he tried to fucking, like, first of all, he tried to tell me that red pill wasn't an ideology. Like, get the fuck out with that. Get the fuck out with that. There's no ideals. Like, I just, like, oh, excuse me, let me go look at your Twitter real quick. Oh, You have ideals about women being submissive, you have ideals about men being dominant, you have, I mean, it's literally chock full of ideals. That's the most ridiculous fucking thing that he probably said to me the entire time. This was such a dumb argument to pick, he was so fucking stupid. So yeah, he tried to pull out some fucking philosophy on me that he didn't understand. Like, I've taken several graduate level philosophy classes at this point in my life. I know what I'm talking about, and I know when other people do not know what they're talking about. This guy didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I'm stuck. I'm, like, seriously fucking stuck in the Japan Sea. How did this happen to me? How did this happen? I'll find a way out. Wait, is this it? Is this out? I don't think this is out. No, this is just further in. This is... sorry, I'm, like, losing my train of thought. Right, I was talking about the declining, like, overall popularity of red pill and how it's like, yeah, like I said, it's kind of encountering this phenomenon of, like, the only people that are still left in it are the people that are, like, truly fucking committed and kind of cult-like about it and just totally, excuse me, in their own bullshit about it and unable to objectively assess reality anymore. And yeah, talking to this dude, it felt like trying to talk to a fucking white nationalist, except, you know, sub the contempt for everyone that isn't white for contempt for women. It was really exactly like that. Oof, man. Yeah, the next crop of these guys, man. The hell? This is the Gourmet Submarine Castle music. Did this shit just glitch out? Wait, what is going on? Is that a cat? No. I don't know why this music is happening. I legit do not. I also actually don't know if I'm gonna be able to climb out of here. Okay, that's sloped. Yeah, we're gonna be fine. I mean, I'm happy to hear the Gourmet Submarine Castle music again, but that is a glitch. There we go. Stone circle. Anyway, alright, I think I'm maybe done ranting for the evening. Yeah, I should say that I do think some phenomenon like red pill is going to be around until psychology and the academy generally reckon with the evolutionary implications of relationship dynamics. That is a thing that the academy needs to deal with, and their failure to deal with it has resulted in this kind of, like, you know, pseudoscientific, bullshit, hateful circle jerk that is the manosphere. I do think that would exist regardless, because, you know, men being mad about feminism is not new. So, there's that, but there is some shit that needs to be addressed by the Academy that, if they had done a better job with, would have maybe, eliminated the need for this kind of shit. And, yeah, that's by no means an endorsement of it. It's still, like, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that just about everything these guys think is wrong. Like, provably wrong. So, just, you know, don't take anyone talking about alphas or betas seriously. Don't do that. Even when I use those words, as a person who studies fucking authority dynamics and social dominance, I use them with, like, caveats and, you know, even irony when I'm saying these things, because I know it's not a binary thing. But if you hear someone talking about alphas and betas like they are distinct things and this is a binary, and they're a fucking idiot, and you need to stop listening to them immediately. They have drank the Kool-Aid. They have drank the red pill Kool-Aid. And they're not worth listening to anymore. And, like, God, you've gotta be in denial to not recognize how culty and Kool-Aid-y this is. Holy shit, man. And it's just, at this point, it's so detached from actual research, and, like, tits deep in fucking conspiracy theories about why oh my god! Oh god, okay, I have to tell you about this one thing. It's too funny. Okay. So, there is this measure of physiological arousal, that, it gets used in science, particularly in sex research and, psychology research. It started out in sex research, got, like, popularized there, and now it's, being used throughout psychology. I'm fixing to use it in the data I'm about to collect. And what it does is it measures the diameter of your pupils and uses that to gauge how physically aroused you are. Not in necessarily a sexual sense, but in, like, a, you know, if a bear appeared in front of you and began to chase you, you would be very physiologically aroused at that point. Obviously, sexual arousal is part of that. You're kind of, like, keyed up when you're sexually aroused, but it's not the same thing. It all exists on the same spectrum, but it's not quite the same thing. Anyway, so I saw this study wherein they were showing women pictures of men's faces and asking them to gauge, like, whether or not they would want to go on a date with this person based on their pictures, like, you know, a person would do on, like, Tinder or something like that. And, the researchers found that, up to a certain point, women liked faces that appeared more dominant, which is that's a kind of subjective thing that I could rant about in its own right, but there are characteristics that will make a face look more or less dominant, but they found diminishing returns on it. So that basically, the women would have more pupil dilation up to a point with the dominant faces, but at a point, the pupil arousal kept going up, but the desire to actually date that person went down. So, meaning the men with the most dominant faces, those pictures, they got the most pupillary response. There was, like, the most pupil dilation in response to seeing those pictures, but the women, did not want to date those men as much as men who did not look as dominant. If you're familiar with what pupil dilation is as a measure, and you're familiar with how, like, women think, this is a very easy result to interpret. Women do like when men are kind of, like, assertive and sort of, you know, masculine in a way, like straight women especially do like that. However, if you get a vibe from a dude that he's gonna be, like, domineering and overly aggressive and potentially shitty towards you, you're probably not gonna want to date that person. So, if you perceive somebody's face, if you perceive them to be really, really dominant, then, you know, that's gonna be a shitty date, right? Which was the metric by which these women were grading these pictures. So even if you experienced more quote-unquote arousal in response to seeing that person's face, it's arousal that's more akin to, like I mentioned, like a bear appearing in front of you rather than like, ooh, I'm interested in this, you know? And like I said, this is a very easy result to interpret if you're at all familiar with how pupil dilation works and if you're familiar with how women generally choose partners. However, I saw this same study get around the manosphere red pill Twitter with the let's call it alternative interpretation that you see guys, feminism is making women suppress their desires for natural alpha males. Oh, honey. So their fucking hypothesis, you know, these dudes that I sincerely doubt even went to college, their idea is that these women actually wanted these true aggressive alpha males, but because they've been brainwashed by feminism, they are suppressing those desires when they report how much they want to date those men to the researchers. It couldn't be because they found them threatening and women don't want to be threatened by romantic partners. No, certainly that could not be it. It's obviously feminism. When I saw that shit, I seriously laughed until I couldn't breathe. Holy fucking God. Like, oh my fucking God. I mean, it's so indicative of exactly what they do. It's like, y'all don't know how women work because you don't think of them as people, so you are confused by the results of science and other means of gathering empirical data because you are just mystified and presumptuous regarding how much feminism has brainwashed people. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry, let me look at chat real quick. What is Voigtkampf? I feel like I've heard that phrase, but I don't know what that means. Voigtkampf testing. And, I wonder what age group was tested. I mean, it was probably, like, women in their early 20s, I'm assuming. The research pools are generally, like, undergrads, so, yeah. I read an article that was critical of similar studies, given they are mostly performed on college undergrads. Yeah, that's a very fair critique of psychology as a discipline. We use a lot of fucking just college undergrads as research subjects. It biases our results sometimes in a way that necessitates replication across different groups, which is something we're getting better about. A group which tend to have less experience in relationships given their age. Yeah, that's true. One of the things the article was pointing out is that as women get older, they get better at detecting narcissists and other traits that are corrosive to relationships. Hey, how about that? I betcha. Yeah, I wonder if they'd actually spread out that study over like a wider age group, like a wider age range of women, if they would have found that there was an even more drastic effect with dominant faces producing this kind of diminishing returns with regard to how much somebody actually wanted to date that person. I bet you they woulda. Yeah. Oh, it's from Blade Runner? I've never seen that movie, which I know would offend certain segments of my audience. Yeah, no, it's incredible that we can really detect any of this sort of shit from pictures, but, you know, I look at research all the time that indicates that we get strong intuitive feelings about things like, you know, whether or not someone should be a leader, whether or not someone is dominant or whatever. We get vibes like that from looking at people's pictures. It's just these little intuitive calculations that we make that are, you know, at this point in history very poorly understood. But regardless, like, it happens. Like, I read a study really recently wherein people were choosing different political candidates as a function of both their political party and how dominant the candidate's face looked. So people on the left were actually disliked a candidate with a dominant looking face, whereas people on the right preferred that slightly. But it was notable to me, actually, that the people on the left seemed to dislike that more than people on the right seemed to like it, which is actually kind of consistent with my own experiences with this shit, because it would seem that, like, people on the right, a lot of them kind of just went along with someone like, you know, someone really socially dominant, like Donald Trump, for example, whereas people on the left fucking hated him. Like, they really fucking hated him. Way more than a lot of people on the right even liked him, outside of his, like, you know, core culty fan base, you know? Point being, it's just remarkable to me that these things can be consistent and predictable by something like political orientation. That's crazy to me, man. And, like, we're able to make these judgments. It's really impressive. It's really fucking impressive. Yeah, sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. Also, I've been standing here just fucking talking for like 15 minutes, so let's just give it a rest, yeah? Let me go back to town. I can walk, it's fine. The song's lovely. I'm glad I got to listen to it for a bit. Yeah, it's really, really impressive. There's been a long history of political parties passively aggressively selecting for certain traits in their voters. Not wrong. You're not wrong about that. Wait, I need to... No, I was going the right way. Yeah, it's, I think it has to do with a lot of things. Something I've been thinking about recently as I was, working on that amygdala video, the script for that, this is kind of a huge topic that I don't really want to get into right now, but essentially there are consistent differences in both the anatomy and function of brains depending on where someone is on the political spectrum. So, like, different structures will either be larger or more sensitive or more generally active in people who lean left and people who lean right, depending on, like, you know, the structure. Like, for example, conservatives tend to have larger, more sensitive, more active amygdalas, whereas people on the left tend to have similar bonuses, shall we say, to the insula and the anterior cingulate cortex. Both of which are really important in gauging uncertainty and discomfort. And and the amygdala is, man, I can't get into this right now. I'm losing my voice, and it's a really complicated topic, so I'm gonna stop. Suffice it to say, I believe there are legitimate neural differences that these preferences manifest, and I will explain them on another stream. Yeah. It was kind of a weird stream here. We didn't really get too much done. We tried out a new game, didn't like it. Yeah, we got a few fortune cats. I'm like damn near to the 18 that I need to be at in order to go to space without missing anything, so that's cool. I appreciate y'all sticking around with me. Thank you. Yeah, I had a good time. I'm glad we talked about that. It's a few things that I'd been wanting to air out for a little while now. Yeah, it's good. It's a good time. I'm glad you were here, Urchak. I didn't actually specifically talk to you about the thing that I said I would talk to you about like a couple weeks ago when we got into a little spat on Twitter. We'll have to do that um, maybe next time I stream. That watching those videos is what put that Kant bit in my head though. So you know that's where that came from. It's a good way to think about it. That means and ends thing. So yeah, sometimes philosophy is useful. Man, that white guys jerking off philosophy tube video is really good. It's really good. I kind of want to show it to this professor I have now because I think he would like he's woke enough to be receptive to that. Like I said, he had us reading a fucking microaggressions paper. Like he's not obnoxiously woke. He's not over woke. He's not like caffeinated. He's just like he's woke enough to fully treat me like a person and to regard historical perspectives with regard to like, you know, power dynamics and shit. He's honestly just like aggressively likable to the point where I'm struggling to maintain this like comedic put on contempt I have for his entire discipline. Like motherfucker was wearing banana socks last week. It's like I can't like I go in there ready to dunk on some shit that we read and I see this man wearing novelty socks and it's like god damn it. Can you stop being Mr. Rogers for 5 seconds so I can shit on this thing you had us read? Damn it. It's just like a fucking case study in charm softening a person's views. Me being unable to hate this philosophy class. Because this professor's just, like I said, aggressively likable. Like Mr. Rogers by way of Long Island. he's good people, man. And yeah, I can't be a cunt to a man in banana socks. I guess that's just... And now I know that about myself. You love novelty socks, it's a great substitute for personality? I don't think it's a substitute. I think it's a, if anything, an indication. I've never seen someone wearing novelty socks that did not also have personality. It would seem to be an honest signal of such a thing. I'm not sure how I express personality. I suppose I am a snazzy dresser. And, yeah, there's a few other ways, I guess. Anyway, I'm losing my voice. I barely had it back from the oh my god, I didn't talk about Metric. Holy shit. Holy shit. I'll have to do that next time. I saw Metric, y'all. Oh my god, it was so good. Oh, it was so good. I gotta save that. I gotta save that for another stream. I will talk about Metric next time I stream. I promise. I'm kind of wanting to wrap up Goemon before I start a new game, so I might just dedicate the next couple of weeks to doing that. Or even just do it next week, like do like a maybe one shorter stream where I'm wrapping everything up on Earth, and then another stream later that same week where I go into space. Maybe. And then I'll have 2 new games to start. Like before, actually. I still need to decide what serious game I'm playing, but as far as what I'm playing after Goemon, that is going to be Link to the Past, so look forward to that shit. Anyway, as I mentioned, I'm losing my voice. I keep finding new things to talk about. I need to stop, so. Alright. I'm gonna play, this is, I would regard this as a folk song, probably not a country song, and it's not by a country artist, so, but yeah, it's a song by Sufjan Stevens. It might even be my favorite song by him. It's the song that made me want to play a banjo, which is apparently not an instrument you start with, so that will probably never come to fruition, because I don't know how to play a guitar. I don't ever plan to learn. Banjos are beautiful. They sound like plucking water or moonlight or like, I don't know, they sound magical, and yeah, in this song especially. So yeah, I thought it'd be a good one to end on. And it's a little folksier than I would normally play, so I figured it would slot well into this playlist. Anyway, yeah, good night, y'all.